welcome to the Giseni Hospital Dialysis Center. It's my pleasure to give you a slow tour throughout the center. Please walk with me. First, we're entering the reception. Then the staff training room. Then the dialysis hall. We have our room for consultations. And then the dialysis room. Further down the hall is the room for procedures. This is where we do temporary and permanent catheterizations. And then finally the less sexy area, which is the reverse osmosis and sterilization room. And there you have it. That's what it takes to run a state-of-the-art dialysis center in Rwanda. Thank you.
Welcome to Dreamcatchers. We are excited to present a story with a difference. Nikhil Pereira-Kamath graduated from Princeton, subsequently joined the MBA program at Harvard Business School, and then decided to take a break to start African Health Network, the first dialysis center in Sub-Saharan Africa, which has become enormously successful. Let's meet Nick. Hi Nick, welcome.
Hi Manju, great to be here.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. So let's start right at the beginning. In 2001, you started the program Youth That Care. It was a non-profit. You helped establish dialysis centers in India, and you also donated about 60 dialysis machines and equipment. You've also been part of the first dialysis center in Burundi. Now, what got you started?
Well, I'd say I owe it, for better or worse, to my parents.
Okay.
So we moved to the U.S. When I was 2 years old.
Okay.
So I would say I'm born in India, raised in the U.S., and now an African resident.
Okay.
So when we came to the U.S., our goal, my family's goal, was to inculcate a sense of giving back to the country that made them. And so that's how Youth That Care was born. My father is a nephrologist by training.
Brian Pereira.
Yes, and my mother is the heart of the family as the neonatologist. And so from my parents' experience in India, there was a huge unmet need in India for large dialysis centers. I think at the time we started, there were probably 1,000 dialysis machines across India, and we, over the course of 5 years, established 6 centers in the country, with about 6% of the machines in country donated through Youth That Care. In fact, the largest center is at St. John Medical College, and it still exists as one of the largest dialysis centers in all of the country.
Okay, that's wonderful. And you, of course, went to Princeton in 2010, and you graduated in economics and certificate in finance, right? So tell us about your years in Princeton. What was that like?
So I had an unbelievable time in college. I joined.
What do you mean by unbelievable time?
I think
can mean different things to different people.
To put it nicely, I had a very well-rounded experience, college experience. I wrestled in college at the tiny weights of 125 pounds and 133 pounds. So day one, I had a family, and that really molded my experience in college. Taught me how to balance both schoolwork and extracurriculars, as wrestling took a significant amount of my time. And throughout college, I kind of got into my stride. I think I was a bit of a rambunctious teenager. I'd say without a doubt a poor performer in middle school and high school.
Okay.
And was lucky that wrestling was able to help me in the college admissions process.
Okay.
So that really changed my life. I had an unbelievable group of friends, and fortunately and unfortunately, I fell into the typical mold, which is finance after Princeton, and then after that, private equity.
Okay. And you were at Morgan Stanley for 2 years, and then Berkshire Partners, right?
Yeah, and I'd say my soul had been sold for a bit longer than that. I did venture capital my first year after summer after college, 2 summers at Morgan Stanley, and then full time 2 years. So I'd been in the finance industry for about 6 or 7 years.
And you mentioned somewhere that when you were working there, you met an entrepreneur from Burundi, and you helped him establish the first dialysis center there. And you said that was your come to Jesus moment, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And when you found that the operating side was actually more attractive than the investing part, right?
Yeah.
So tell us more about that.
So when I finished up at Morgan Stanley, I had really the privilege of joining Berkshire Partners based in Boston, and had the opportunity to work on 2 relatively large deals, which were quite complex, which required really boots on the ground. So I got to work on merger integration directly with the CEOs of 2 companies, and through that I got a real appreciation for how difficult it is to run a company and build something from scratch, and then how rewarding it is. On the side, when I joined Berkshire, I was approached by an entrepreneur in Burundi to establish the first dialysis center in Burundi. His email was, "Children are dying. There is no dialysis center in the country." That's one of those emails you can't ignore.
Never forget.
Yeah, exactly. And so we did that, and it was I call it my night job when I was working private equity. And upon finishing my 2 years at Berkshire, I'd been accepted into Harvard Business School, and about a week or 2 before going there, I stopped by Burundi for Bujumbura, which is the capital, for the inauguration. And to my dismay, I found out that he had made it a for-profit organization and was siphoning money off the top. So the come to Jesus moment actually didn't come from just the operating side, but more from the fact that I could do this as a for-profit, and I could build something that's scalable that I control. And that's how Africa Healthcare Network came about.
Right. And when you were in Harvard Business School, it's that you sat down and you formulated the plan where you could offer dialysis at pretty much half or 2/3 of the prices of whatever the prevailing prices were at that time, right?
Yes. So in Rwanda, which was the first country we moved to, the price of dialysis at the time was about $135 to $200 per session. Okay. And I found a way to offer it at $100. Medications, I found a way to cut the cost by 50%, and procedures by about 40%. And I wish there was a special sauce or secret, but I think it's more just taking a more refined approach and taking the time to really understand the business model, what drives it, and where are the areas which could be improved. I think one issue in these regions is governments are so quick to want to start these dialysis centers, they don't do the upfront work, and that's where we come in. And this is not me saying that there are no moats and no barriers to entry. For anyone looking to do something in the region, I'd urge you not to. But I would say by doing the work that we've done, we've established a presence, and we've allowed to leverage the volume to push our suppliers to lower the costs that they're providing to us, which allows us to end up serving the consumers better, or the patients.
And you also had a lot of partnerships with nephrologists there and top-tier hospitals now, right?
Yeah, so every nephrologist in Rwanda at least is partnered with us. I have the benefit of 2 of the leading nephrologists as both board members and co-investors globally, and that's my father and Dr. Lloyd Vincent, who is the head of Narayana NH Hospital's nephrology program. So having that really firepower or arsenal in my back pocket was extremely helpful when going in as I think I was a 25-year-old and sitting down with the Honorable Minister of Health of a country and saying, hey, listen, I'd like to come and do something here better than you guys are doing. Can I have your blessing? I think was extremely helpful having the network that we had built up.
So what gives you is it a passion or is it courage? What motivates you? Because it takes a lot of courage, I would say, for a 25-year-old to leave Harvard Business School, a kind of a predictable career, so to speak, after the first year, and then start the African Health Network. The first center you started in Kigali was in December 2015. So what really motivated you and what gave you the courage to do that? What's your biggest strength, so to speak?
My strength, I'm probably lost in what my biggest strength is. I think what motivated me was I saw an opportunity to do something different. Right. I've always wanted to kind of make my own path. And I think it's a little bit of a competitive nature in the fact that I had a father who, similar to me, he's risk averse. We're not risk takers. We've fallen into entrepreneurship, I'd say. He may disagree with me on that. But I've always wanted to, I've loved healthcare, I've loved the industry. I find it to be, from an investing standpoint, one of the sexier industries because it's such a diverse sector. But I think what really motivated me was I knew I could do something and I could prove it to myself that I could do the operations side. There's no specific thing I would say that I wake up every morning and say, this is why I'm getting up. But it's fun. There's an element of gambling. There's an element of poker, reading your opponents. When you're sitting across the table with the Minister of Health and you're negotiating a deal, it keeps you mentally going. And I think at Berkshire we have one of the founders of the firm who is still a leading presence at the firm, and his view is if you're not using your mind and you're retired, you're wasting it. And so it's fun getting continuously challenged.
And it's interesting how your family background, your education, and your postgraduate experience have all come together in doing what you do, along with all the charitable things that you've done as a child. Now, also I want to talk about recently, November 2016, Polaris Partners and Flint Atlantic Capital, they closed an investment in AHN. So what was that like, that moment? And how did you make it happen?
So it was, I'd say it's a bit of a relief. I think we're lucky to have two very complementary funds. Polaris Partners is one of the largest healthcare investment VC firms globally. And Flint is a Nigerian-based healthcare-only Sub-Saharan investment fund. So Flint brought a lot of the African network that I wanted, and I really view it as strategic capital. It's not just money. Money is not what's going to drive growth in the business. It's the relationships, especially in regions such as emerging markets in general. Relationships drive growth. And Polaris brings this cachet and a global network. So I'm very happy with the outcome. Fundraising being on the other side is both fun and frustrating because you realize it takes longer than you think, for the better, because you have to pick the right partner. But in addition to that, on the fun side, I'd always been on the other side of the table. So in the negotiation room, it's pretty fun being the guy who knows the tricks that are going to be played against you. Not to say that there were any tricks played between me and Polaris and Flint.
But you can read their mind in some ways, being on the other side.
We were on the same page, I'd say, which made it a fun process.
And you've been living in Rwanda now for 2 years, is it? Or
yeah, I'm considered the old man of Rwanda when it comes to expats because it's a very transient population. So I've had a great experience. I live with 6 other expatriates, a blend of Brits and Americans. So I've picked up some of their slang, such as I'm quite keen to do something, or something along those lines. And the words for trousers is different than pants.
What is it?
One is considered boxers and the other is considered pants.
Yes.
So those are the weird nuances I've picked up. But I'm actually now in the process of, unfortunately, uprooting myself, and fortunately, unfortunately, but I'm moving to Tanzania in 2.5 weeks to launch our new presence in that country, which is exciting because it's 4 times the size of Rwanda by population, about 10 times the size by land mass, and 4 times by insurance coverage. So the addressable population is enormous.
Exciting. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself. I have been doing some research, checking out your Facebook page also, and I saw some very interesting pictures about dirty dancing. So we love to dance. And do you have any other fun things that you like to do?
So I think I'm 2 different people. If you catch me on one day, I'll be sitting out on a chair, reading, drinking a mimosa, and enjoying the views. And if you catch me out that same evening, I will be on the dance floor, either making a fool of myself or trying to pull off some party tricks. I think you've done better snooping than I would have hoped. But
part of the job, snooping.
Yeah, I think
that's a British word too.
Yeah, snooping. Yeah.
I lived and trained in England, so.
Okay, so you know all the terminology.
Yes.
I'd say I part of being an entrepreneur is you're constantly thinking about work.
Right.
And so it's fun to get hours, minutes to just switch off. And I think that's a great thing about my experience in Rwanda has been the people I live with and have surrounded myself with have provided an escape. They pushed me outside of my bubble. As I said, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I'm also an accidental adventurer. But I've gotten to hike the Nyiragongo volcano, which is the most dangerous volcano in the world.
Oh my goodness.
In Goma, which is the most dangerous city by many in the world. I've gotten to see the gorillas, a lot of things that you don't get to do in the New England area that I probably wouldn't have done if it hadn't been for my friends. So.
And some other things that you do for fun, you told me about, which was also featured in Boston Magazine and Boston Business Journal. Should share that with our viewers as well.
Yeah, so upon joining Berkshire, Berkshire is one of the largest participants in the Pan Mass Challenge, or one of the largest donors. Every year it's been a top, I'd say, 3 or 4 donor towards PMC. And that's an unbelievable organization started by Billy Starr that's raised, every year it holds the record for raising the most money over 2 days for a charity. So in 2013 summer, to help raise money for the challenge, I wore a pink Spider-Man outfit for the last 20 miles. I'm speaking now in kilometers. Oh my God, of the race. And then after that, picks up some traction and pitched to the CEO of New Balance that let's make excellent happen, which is basically pushing the New Balance motto, which is pushing everyone to their own level of excellence. So my view was take a Hubway bicycle. In hindsight, my knees probably think it was the worst decision of my life, and I actually do have a knee injury that's now never going to leave me from this. But it's 3 times as challenging. But I took a Hubway bike and did the 160-mile bike challenge with it. With that said, the people were tremendously supportive. Everyone you rode by, or actually everyone that rode by me, because I pretty much got passed at every stop. But it was fun. I got to ride it in a New Balance. I was fully sponsored by New Balance. There was some good press, and the most important part is I was able to raise $20,000 for Dana-Farber and the Jimmy Fund.
That's wonderful. That was the Pan Mass Challenge,
yes.
right?
So I would recommend to anyone and everyone to do it. It's a beautiful and unbelievable experience.
Unless they have good knees.
Yeah, or just don't ride a Hubway bicycle.
Okay. And tell us a little bit more about your family. You told us about your parents, they're doctors. Are you single or? I'm sure our video viewers would like to know that.
I am still single. I think I'm married to the job right now. That's the best way of putting it.
Okay.
I'm a tough person to deal with. If my parents can attest to that. But no, I have my family's here. My sister is married and works for Bain as a manager in San Francisco. So coming home is definitely a goal for mine. I'm a diehard Bostonian. There's no other city that I would want to live in.
Thank you so much for coming, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.